Alright. Hey, it's Vanessa Love. Alright. So, I just rewatched one of my videos and it was only 5 minutes on what I thought before getting into art therapy, what it would be like, and what it's really like. And I want to expand on that idea because I think it is an important one. I've known some of my friends to have gone through all this training, all this stuff, all the things, like, and get to the point where they are like finally doing what they're doing and they're miserable. And that's not what happened, but what I wanted changed. So before I came to Connecticut and did the art therapy program, I actually don't know what I actually don't know. Hold on. I want to check something real quick. Okay, that's not an issue. Um, I wanted to have a. I wanted to have a house, and I was going to practice out of the house. Out of like, it's changed over the years. Like I was going to have like a little, like almost a shed, therapy shed with like all of my supplies and my art studio back there, and like kind of like make it so that it was like in half. So one half was therapy, art therapy, and one half was my own studio because need my own little creative space. And I was gonna have a goat, and people could feed the goat, and I wanted a gazebo because it'd be cool to have tea and talk and sit down in a little have seating in the gazebo and have the gazebo, and basically practice on my home property. That's what I wanted. I expressed that in grad school, and one of my friends said, "Oh my gosh, that is so pragmatic." And of course, I had to look that up. But practical. It was very practical. That's how I wanted to practice. And I always thought that I would have to find clients. Like, I think that that's definitely a part of that. So now fast forward to, well, I had to join a group practice because I didn't feel comfortable just going out on my own, and no way that I had the money to do that, and I didn't want to get out another loan after being in college, and after being in college, and having student loans. So I went with a group practice, and I got a lot of criticism for it. I feel like with the training that I got from people who had like knew the ins and outs of insurances and knew the ins and outs of calling people and in the ins and outs of marketing, all of this stuff, right? They wanted, like, that I learned how to be a good business person, and I don't think that a lot of people get that training, because I definitely didn't get it at in grad school. That was not on the curriculum. I've offered to create that curriculum as an option for the people in the people who are in the program now, whoever, and they no, not allowed to do it. And now that I'm talking about it, I'm like, maybe I'm gonna offer that now. I'm definitely gonna have a class for therapists about that. So look for that soon. It's definitely something I'll work on. It's not going to happen next weekend or anything. There's a lot of things to plan in my head all the time. But I mean, it's definitely something that I can do outside of that. And other art therapists do have those types of things because it's not taught in schools. I pretty much, that first year of being in practice was the crash course. Boy, I did a lot back then, and I feel like that's a whole other video, but it wasn't taught. It was a crash course for me. I've read so much on how to do SEOs, how to update your content constantly in order to be on the top like listings, how to check your Google inquiries to see who's searching or who's coming to your page and what searches, your page is coming up in. And I can tell you that, I just looked it up. Actually, let me tell you that. Because it is a good thing to know about your web page. I can tell you I haven't had a lot of hits in the past couple of days. Actually, I think it's because that report ended. So that would have been, it would have been a week. Okay. So, last week, there were like 38 other clicks for me. I can look that up. But, second search through 3 clicks to my page. Psychiatrist falls in love with patients. Because I wrote this. I wrote about that. Therapist crush on patient. What happens when a therapist falls in love with a patient? Art therapy question. Therapist client love. Of course, I'd come up in that. Therapist crush on client. Therapist falls in love with patient. Vanessa Love. Art therapy processing questions. Those are all the searches that I came in for last week, and I can update that. I have that saved so I can look at that. I had to look all of that stuff up. I had to figure out how to do it because there's no class on that. There's no class on how to do that. I went to the library. I got books on it. I knew some web page design because I've been interested in web pages since before blogs were called blogs, when it was just individual web pages where it was like, okay, I updated this bug, and by the way, things are going great for me or whatever. A lot of web pages, lots of web pages. I loved HTML. I never really got into Java. I would never do Java. I love HTML. So like I already had all of that, and then being on LinkedIn and all of these other things, one of my professors actually used me as an example for being a well-networked therapist before. Is very odd. I don't think she's doing it now. So I had to learn all of that. I had to learn how to bill. I had to learn how to call insurances, and I had to learn insurance law and say, well, that's not legal. And I've had this conversation with TRICARE, which is the veterans, the insurance for veterans. Well, that wasn't processed correctly. Explain that to me. You had to do A, B, and C, and they said, we're above that. Those laws don't apply to us. That was crazy. I know that conversation upset my supervisor at the time. So as I said, I had to find these things out all on my own. There was no class on this. There wasn't any, real mentor except for my supervisor. And so I became a better business person. There were some things that I picked up from ethics class that I apply to my private practice because I have to. There's this thing called HIPAA, and it's like Health Information Privacy Protection. Yeah, Privacy Protection Act. It was passed in, I believe, 1996 by Congress. It falls under, I've had to look this up in the last couple of weeks because I haven't actually read I haven't actually read HIPAA. I just know it exists. It falls under the Department of Justice and the Civil Rights Office, and they are the ones that investigate, and the state investigate any issues of privacy. For example, if I randomly had a client and I was like, hey everyone, I have a client named Cruella, and she is a teacher at the Smith School down the street, Oh my god, license pulled very quickly. But actually, I think some of my colleagues would probably contact me first and say, you need to take that down. And you know, if Cruella didn't say, you can use my name, you can talk about me, and you know, I said, oh, of course I can talk about you, and I can talk about this case because Cruella is very informed about all of this. Like, it's still too much information. You wouldn't give that information anyway. But that type of stuff, like, I can't do that. um, you know, I can't give such specific information that you would figure out who it was. Like, if I was like, oh, and I had I'm trying to think, like, let me use, I guess, Bill Clinton as an example. Oh, I had a high profile politician, you know, there were fidelity issues, and you know, he and his wife were very pleasant in sessions, but you know, and I gave something away, you know, gave some information away. Like, it would be very, very obvious, and you wouldn't, hold on, okay, you wouldn't necessarily, like, you would know who that was, you know, like, eventually you'd be like, Jesus, okay, she's talking about Bill Clinton, you know, like, oh, he plays the saxophone, and, you know, does blah, 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 you know, like, if you could figure it out, then I'm not doing my job very well. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think that I can go as far as to saying, unless I have permission, as far as to say I have a client who, you know, let's take the Bill Clinton issue again. I have a, you know, client, he's, you know, between 30 and 50. I think he's older. I think he's in his 60s. And married, politician, and he was referred to me because he was dealing with, issues of fidelity. Now, even if you couldn't figure out who that was, because that could be a local politician, that could be the mayor, it could be, you know, whoever, you still have to follow, you still have to follow that. Like, you still have to follow that law. If, like, you know, someone just happened to know that situation, it would be, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. Sorry. There's going to be another one, I think, coming too. So I became a good, you know, person, or I became like a good business person. I became a good fit, like, on top of my game, by being in a group practice. I'm now independent, and you can see, not a gazebo, not you know, a divided room with my stuff on one side and, you know, this stuff on the other side. You can see some of the art supplies that I do have. You can't see that there is a sewing machine here. These are also sewing, or not sewing supplies, art supplies here. But as of right now, I don't have a lot of people actually practicing art therapy. And I think one of the other cool things about art therapy too, oh my gosh, I just forgot my words. They are gone. Cool thing about art therapy too is, man, that sentence could have gone anywhere. Oh, I wanted to talk about, like, what it's like to be in an art therapy session. I mean, the cool thing about art therapy is that, you know, that when people are interested in it, they're wonderful, and like, they really are dedicated to it. But I've never really come around to, like, sometimes doing talk therapy is easier than trying to get someone to do art therapy. So an art therapy session, I didn't know this before I started, so I'm going to go through this. An art therapy session is more often someone coming in, and they want like they talk a little bit about their day. They do some artwork, and sometimes they get really into their artwork, and I just watch them do their artwork. I remain kind of quiet because I know it takes some concentration to do. If someone was talking to me throughout my artwork, instead of taking like 2 hours for my painting, it probably would take like 4, and I'd stop and just be like, I can't focus on what I'm doing if you continue to talk to me. But other people don't have too many of those issues. So they talk during, and either they get to choose what they would like to work on, or I have suggestions. Let's see, I am able to share this. I had a client, and like she was doing her own thing, and then she kind of got stuck, and it was like, all right, well, draw a picture of your family, and like, then we talked about that, and that was really cool. So very fun. I do enjoy art therapy sessions. It's just don't always get to do them. So then, yeah, the end of the end of the session is just talking about the art, the art, and what's in it. Sometimes people don't finish their stuff. They have to do it over the course of like 1 or 2 sessions, or 2 or 3 sessions, mostly 2 sessions if they're gonna like, really work on something. And that's fun. It's how it goes. And with HIPAA as well, like I have to have a locked filing cabinet. I believe that because I have a locked door, that's a 2-lock, that's a double lock, follows a double lock rule, which I'm still having trouble finding what that entirely means, because I don't know if I also have to have something on the filing cabinet that has another lock so that it's like quadruple locked, just in case someone comes in. But all of this stuff is very important for protecting my clients, and that's why all of these laws exist. It's why licensure exists. It's why the double lock rule exists. It's why HIPAA exists. Like, we shouldn't be able to go and just willy-nilly talk about everyone. I agree with that, but I also include in my initial paperwork an optional part of it. It says, optional. If you want to do artwork, please initial here. If you give Vanessa and entities, have to include, permission to share your artwork with non-identifying information. Not including your initials, your age, and something else, and location or something like that, because it's implied. If you're coming to see me, you're within 30 miles of the office, or I know in the past I've just done like age. No, I've done the initials too. Yeah. When I did I did a client artwork show, and so I vaguely remember, it's been like 4 years now, I vaguely remember putting, putting their name, or not their name, their initials, their age, and then like the title, and that was it. Like very limited information, but I want to clarify that I do that because I don't want anyone thinking that when I talk about clients that I have no permission. I always have permission before I talk about clients, because obviously I don't want to be sued, and nothing like this is really worth my license, so yeah. All right, well, I hope that was helpful for you. Maybe one day I will be able to, I've been talking about, I've been working on doing retreats, and maybe years down the road, doing, having a retreat center. But, in order to get there, I kind of have to get out of, I would like to be out of student debt before I buy a property, and start doing retreats. But, you know, good to start doing and thinking about retreats and classes before anything really significant, I guess, as significant as buying a property comes up. All right, well, thanks for watching, and I will talk with you soon.